Hi, welcome to my presentation. I am Professor Wilson Wong. Right now, I'm a fellow in the Center of Advanced Studies for the Behavioral Science in Stanford University. But my original affiliation is actually from the Chinese University of Hong Kong. Today, I'm going to make a presentation around 15 to 20 minutes on the submission number 7473. And the title of the paper is Trust Building and Digital Governance in Smart City, COVID-19 Contact Tracing in Hong Kong and Singapore. It's actually a co-author paper, so I'm working with a few people on this paper, including Charles Hinnant from Florida State University, and also Professor Alfred and Hinnant from the National University of Singapore. So it is a team effort paper. Let me go to the screen. Okay, so this is the outline. I'm going to talk very quickly about the background of the study, and then I will introduce the research questions. And in analyzing the problem of research questions of the study, we invent a framework. It's originally a 3P framework, but we add one more P to that. We make it a all-P framework. You know more about the framework as I go along with the presentation. And the final part of the presentation will be discussion and the implication as far and also the discussion about the future research plan and research agenda. So as I say, it is a team effort. So I would like to highlight our team is an international team, and we are also looking at the problem from an interdisciplinary perspective. And it is also a research built on a series of papers we have already worked on, and many of them has already been published, so that if you're interested in the wider area of a study, you're welcome to search for those papers, and some of them are open access, so that you should be able to read it without any charge and easily. So I and Alfred have a paper in the Journal of Comparative Policy Analysis on COVID-19, and I also work on the COVID-19 issue of Hong Kong. And in terms of the ICT data and contact tracing research, Hinnant and if I can remember, in National University of Singapore also work on the measures of digital tracing as well. So that we are building on our existing research, and we're also trying to go beyond that to compare the cases of Hong Kong and Singapore, which is, I think, is quite interesting. And why the background of our research is about smart city, and what is smart city? Smart city is about the use of different devices. We usually call it the ICT device, information and communication technologies, to link up everything in order to improve service and improve the quality of government service delivered to the citizens, so that you can take contact tracing as part of the smart city agenda, trying to collect data from the citizens and then improve the service to them, and the service can be contact tracing so that we can address the COVID-19 pandemic more effectively. And that's why I think it is very important to understand contact tracing under the bigger umbrella of smart city. I will get back to that in the end of the presentation. And in order to have smart city, we need to get data, because why we can make smarter decisions is because we link up all the different devices. And another major stream that make smart city work is really the data. So who actually provide the data is the citizens themselves provide the data. Just like contact tracing, it is actually the citizen data provided by citizens themselves. So in order to have smart city, you need to have data. They actually come together hand by hand. And in terms of contact tracing, it is very popular under the COVID-19, but I do not want to give you the impression that everybody are doing it, so that some countries actually have no contact tracing at all, so that you can see from the map. Some of them actually have no contact tracing, some of them only have limited contact tracing. But for Hong Kong and Singapore, highlighted in blue, it is done with very comprehensive contact tracing. And contact tracing can also be done manually. You can have somebody to talk to the person who have the virus and then ask him whom he have seen or what are the people get close to him when he has already caught the virus. So manually can be done contact tracing, but we are more interested, as I say, in smart city ICT. So the contact tracing we are focusing on is not the manual contact tracing, but the use of digital device. So digital contact tracing, and both Hong Kong and Singapore are using them. And the major questions we have, or we can call it a research puzzle, is both Hong Kong and Singapore. Why we compare them is both of them are digitally advanced city. They're actually so similar with each other, although right now or in many aspects we are seeing more divergence between them. But traditionally, over the period of decades, they are all taken as a rivalry in terms of economic developments. Why they are rivalries? Because they are just so similar to each other. But under the case of digital contact tracing, we can see that the digital contact tracing, the acceptance of the citizens is actually much better in Singapore, but not in Hong Kong. So we are trying to find out why. And in order to do that, we adopt a framework called the 3P framework, which is used in the analysis of the acceptance of technology. So original 3P is process, performance, and purpose. But in doing this, I add one more P. I and my co-authors add one more P to that framework. So we call it 4P framework. And the fourth P is represents protection. So that if you're interested in the more details of the methods of the study, it's a comparative case study. We are taking the citizens approach to understand how system react to the ICT. And for the data sources, it is a mixed research approach, so that we are collecting all the data we can have, including data from government website, government archive, reports, and also stories from the mass media, including the social media. And when we look at Hong Kong, I just try to use, or when we look at Hong Kong and Singapore, I'm just trying to give you an impression in the next few slides that they're really similar, but with a different outcomes in terms of the application or acceptance of contact tracing. It's similar in many aspects, including the patterns of the pandemic. So that you can see that because Hong Kong and Singapore actually all located in the East Asia, and in terms of the nature, it's very similar. The population size is also similar. It is can be taken as a citizen state, and they have many people traveling in and out all the time before the pandemic, so that you can see the curve of the wave kind of happening at the same time. So they are really compatible. I think that is what I'm trying to say. And on the other hand, the peak of the pandemic are similar, and then right now it is getting to the end of the pandemic in terms of cases, but not in terms of the measures in Hong Kong. I'm going to say a little bit about that in terms of the latest update of the contact tracing. Very interestingly, Singapore have already back to business. They already take away all the measures they have for controlling the COVID-19, but Hong Kong is still adopting a business or pandemic as usual approach. Because it is adopting, I think it's no secret. All of you who pay some attention should have known about it. Hong Kong is following the dynamic zero COVID-19 policy, so we still have a lot of anti-pandemic measures there, although they are relaxing some of them. But unlike Singapore, is still not yet back to business. So I kind of give you a picture of what's happening. The picture on the left-hand side of the screen is Singapore. Is the LKY School of Public Policy, in which they are already having gathered without masks. But the picture on the right-hand side is actually a picture taken from the website of my university in Hong Kong. You can see that people outdoors still required to wear a mask. It's a law. It's not just wearing the mask for their own personal health. That is required by law, and you will pay a very heavy fine if you don't wear a mask in the public places. And in terms of the digital contact tracing device, in Hong Kong, we use the device called the Live Home Safe, but in Singapore, they actually have more stringent device or more privacy infinite device. If you want to look at it, they have two of them. One is trace together and the other is safe entry. So for trace together and Live Home Safe, they work similar. If you go to a building or certain venues like the restaurant, mall, supermarket, you have to scan it so that you have a record of where you have visited. But Singapore actually have some more restrictive device, which is the I made a mistake. So Live Home Safe and safe entry are the same thing. But in Singapore, they have an additional device called the Trace Together, in which they use Bluetooth to check whether you are getting close in the close distance, like 2 meters, with another person who also have the Trace Together device. So Singapore actually have that more restrictive digital device. But interestingly, although both of them, according to some of the frameworks set by MIT, although both of them claim that both Hong Kong and Singapore claim that all those devices are not restrictive. You will not be sent to jail if you don't use those devices, but actually in reality, it's kind of mandatory because without using those devices, basically you can just stay home. You cannot go to work, you cannot go to a lot of places like hospitals, and you cannot go to schools if you refuse to use those devices. So although in theory, it seems that those devices are not mandatory, you can just adopt it on voluntary basis, but in reality, it is very hard not to have that if you want to have a normal life. So when you look at Hong Kong and Singapore, the reaction of the system is so different. In Hong Kong, people just do not like it. And there are surveys done by universities, and actually one of the surveys is done by my university, the Chinese University of Hong Kong. You see almost half of the people doesn't like the device. They actually, if put it more strongly, they actually oppose the use of such device. And the download rate of such device is actually not high in Hong Kong. But compared with Singapore, you can see the adoption rate is up to 70% or 80% is pretty high. And although there have been one or two occasional incidents in which people have some concerns, for example, there have been the concern that the police are actually getting the data for the crime investigation, but it is quickly settled. So the reaction or resistance in Hong Kong is much higher than the one in Singapore. So we are introducing the 4P framework to try to understand why. In terms of the 4P, they are called process, performance, purpose, and protection. So the process just means that whether the citizens understand the device or not. Performance is about whether the device can help to address the pandemic. Purpose means that whether the government engage the citizens to let them know the purpose of such a device. And I think that the last one is most important one is whether there's a good protection of the personal data to make sure that you will not be used for other purposes, especially purposes that are against the citizens themselves. So when we look at that, we find that Hong Kong and Singapore are actually quite similar. I'm not going to read out sentence by sentence of the table, but in terms of the process, I think it's both limited. There have been research saying that actually both for the purpose and the process and the performance, actually the system do not know too much about the technology itself. But Hong Kong is a little bit worse than that because it's not open source. But even if it is open source, most of the systems are not going to be able to understand all the coding of those devices. And in terms of performance, it's kind of messed up for both of them. There have been a study in Australia actually making a statement that digital contact tracing is not as useful as human contact tracing or the manual contact tracing, or they're just the same. So that it's Hong Kong and Singapore also similar in those two dimensions. In terms of purposes, we find some differences there. In the sense that Singapore have actually been able to do much more in terms of public engagement. But in Hong Kong, the public engagement of the government is actually not that good due to the previous social movement in Hong Kong. And there are some examples about the with the public engagement in Hong Kong. For example, the Hong Kong government have a social media website to promote the digital contact tracing, the different say, but actually how many people have access or would like to like the page or visit the page, it is less than 2,500 people. But on the other hand, there are some you can call it disinformation or misinformation, or a campaign against the use of those digital devices to check citizens, because people just don't trust the government, or don't trust that the government are actually just doing it for the good of the citizens without abusing the data. For those websites, so one of them, the YouTube channel, they have how many views on that? Instead of just a few thousands, you have up to February last year, you have more than 150,000. So that you see the public engagement is actually quite different. So we kind of look at the problem in the paper, kind of look at problem at a deeper level to think that that is actually the most major difference is about trust. And the trust can be defined as the belief that others will not deliberately or knowingly do us harm if they can avoid it, and they will look for our interest. So trust is very important in terms of accepting the technology. But trust in Hong Kong is just great. If you look at the table, that's a big deficit of trust in Hong Kong, and I can easily conclude that with the data. Most people in Hong Kong actually do not trust the government, and it's due to all the major events in the social movement happened since 2099. If you want to know more about it, you can easily Google it. They are widely reported in the news, not just in Hong Kong, but worldwide. But on the other hand, people in Singapore actually trust the government so well. If you look at the data on the PowerPoint, the trust on government in Singapore is actually much higher than the United States and some of the countries. It is 62 in terms of the index. So by 62, you're much higher than you can see all the bottom in the US, Germany, France. So the trust in government in Singapore is actually much higher than the democratic countries. And another is from the same survey, but by highlighting the data on Singapore, and actually most people in Singapore trust the government so much. It's the number one thing they trust. But in the world, as an average, people trust the business more, but not in Singapore. So that what we conclude in the study is that it is very important to have the 4P framework. But on the other hand, if we go back to the most major point, it is not just about trust in technology, about having people who are familiar with the technology, they know what the technology is, so that they believe that the technology will do good to them, so that they accept them. So that's the last point of this PowerPoint I would like to highlight. It seems that instead of trust in technology, trust of institution is much more important when we talk about such large-scale state-led technology. And of course, if there is mistrust, then it will also lead to large resistance. So that the trust in institution is actually transferable to the trust in technology. So that I think that is one of the most interesting findings we have. And in fact, trust is so important that we have a growing amount of literature concerning the dark side of smart city and technology. We all without trust or without any mechanisms to ensure trust is built on accountability and oversight in the political institutions, then we always worry that what we call smart city can actually become a surveillance state in reality. So that I think as scholars, we should pay attention to how to build trust in institutions, and not just only focus on trust in the technology itself. Even we can make the technology so transparent, but it may only be transparent and easily understandable by the experts. So I think how to focus on building people's trust in the institutions so that they will also trust the technology introduced, such as smart city introduced by government, is also a very major things we need to focus on if we want to push ahead using ICT or smart city to improve citizens' life. And finally, I think I will conclude here. Some people just say that, oh, trust is not important. If they don't trust us, then just make it mandatory. Ask everybody to download the app. Ask them to use the app. If not, they will be sent to jail or penalized. But there is still problems about the mandatory adoption approach. Firstly, you will affect the data quality. If you force people to provide you with data, it is so easy for them to adjust the behavior or to do take other measures to circumvent the new policy. For example, in Hong Kong, some people have actually have buy another smartphone so that they use the smartphone for the contact tracing, but they don't only carry the smartphone when they have to use that, so that you actually do not get all the information of the citizens because they are using all kinds of methods to try to bypass the citizens. And I think the most important point we would like to make is that even if we can make it mandatory, you already defeat the purpose of the smart city, because the smart city is serving the citizens, but not to serve the state to impose the demands or control of citizens. I think that's all I have to say in this video. And if you have more questions, you are welcome to ask us during the presentation. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day. Bye-bye.